Well, welcome to another video. Yes, that's all it is, another video. But it is a very important video. There's a lot of talk recently, and I was actually going to do this weeks back, but I kind of felt it would be more relevant to release it around Black Ops 3. 5 or 6 days has gone past now, so I thought, why not kind of talk about it now, especially with how much is blowing up on Twitter, especially with how many pros are going at each other, how much arguments are breaking out. This conversation is in every chat I've been in every pro's mouth, every fan's mouth, it's all over Reddit. We're talking about the bans, the picks, everything. Now, obviously Black Ops 3 has this great new pick and ban thing, and we will get to that. We will get to that. It's very important. I find it one of the most important things about Black Ops 3 in terms of what's new. This video may be more than one part, depending on how long it goes. We've got a lot to talk about, including theory of why we ban, theory of what we could ban, ways to actually do it. I'm not really going to suggest a rule set, I don't think, in these videos, because I've got a plan for that as well. I'm planning to do something quite big for that. But yeah, this could go on for a while, because there's some history we need to speak about first. So, what we need to talk about first is what I consider maybe the three kind of pillars of banning things. The 3 reasons, 3 buckets, 3 whatever you want to call them. Most arguments fall into these categories: fun, competitive, and engagement or viewership. Now, there's kind of a dual thing there. A lot goes into that third one, so I'm going to kind of elaborate on that. But okay, let's start at the beginning. Fun. We need to ban things because to keep it fun, to keep it engaging, keep it fluid, that sort of thing here. So you have to enjoy playing this game. But don't get me wrong, right? The pros, the top level players will play this game so much that they'll be dreaming of it, and no matter how much you play something, eventually you'll be sick of it. Now, that will happen, but you can still make it a fun game. Players will still enjoy the game, right? You still hear it, oh, enjoyed that one, enjoyed that one. So, for that to happen, the game has to be fun. Now, Black Ops is a fun game. I've been playing it religiously, like I'm sure most of you have. And how do we do that in a competitive setting? Because I guarantee right now, competitive will suck the fun out of that really, really quickly if we do it wrong. So for that, you need to kind of keep it away from being frustrating. And frustrating is like kind of the other side of fun, is that if it's not fun, it can be frustrating and you won't want to play it. You'll be sitting there and be like, do you want to play a scrim, or do you want to play, or do you want to do this? And we get flashbacks to sitting in a corner camping with, claymores and all that, some trip mines, all that sort of thing. So we need to keep it away from that. It needs to be an engaging fun, and I'm going to use the word fluid playstyle here, because that kind of sums up a lot of what it is here, is that, you can kind of stop people and camp a little bit, but that should be able to be overcut. You can get people to go around it, you can kind of counter that a little bit here. It shouldn't be just layer and layer of defense, you just feel like you're grinding through it. So we'll come to that a little bit later, because that's a very, very difficult kind of thing to nail down. And for me, it takes in like a million different possibilities. The second one, and this is where people are arguing a lot, and funny enough, this is maybe sometimes a misrepresented pillar, because all these kind of, the main 3 things, all kind of intersect at points. They can, in fact, people might be arguing for competitive when they actually mean fun, and that's probably the greatest thing about this, is you have to realise what they're actually arguing. And both are as valid, don't get me wrong, both are as valid as each other, but that's what you're arguing, you're not arguing the other thing. So competitive integrity must be maintained, it must be skill-based, and that eliminates things that are random. And that's actually sometimes less than you think it is. I said a lot of times people mean fun and engaging. When you don't want to get bursted, or you can't get through a doorway because people are hammering with 6,000 rounds, that's frustrating and not engaging, and you hate it. It's not competitive, because technically what they're doing is preventing you from doing something with a tactic. But not competitive means something that's kind of random, or it takes away some of the skill or anything like that, and that can be argued for that point. So that's, like I said, different arguments, different points that you can kind of come from it, but you're going to know roughly where it sits, and I said they kind of intersect a little bit. They all do. All 3 of these intersect in what we're talking about. But yeah, competitive must contain competitive integrity. This means the rules must be fair. There must be no advantages. We kind of try and stay away from cheesy things, but that actually goes more in the fun, sort of frustrating section. But yeah, competitive integrity, skill-based. We want a skill base. We want people with the better shots, the better tactics, the better reflexes, the better COD brain to actually succeed. That's why some bans are made. That's just one of the reasons. And the third one, and perhaps the most complicated one here, because people will argue this, and argue it sometimes. And to explain this, I kind of have to explain what people mean when they say it. So, there is this argument that because we don't play Call of Duty out of the box, like some other esports, which, have competitive modes anyway, but that's whatever, we'll put it on one side for now, it lowers viewer engagement. It's sometimes impenetrable to the people at home. They look at the game that we're playing, and it's not the same game that they're playing. I can see this argument. I don't think it always applies. Some people are quite eager to use this. They're really eager to use this argument without actually thinking it through. Now, fortunately, I have a sounding board for this, right? I have a local LAN centre near me called Extreme Gaming that has COD players in who are not competitive players. I have a lot of casual people I can speak to about it. And this is the interesting thing. I'm going to take C4 as an example here. So, when speaking to them about it, because they don't know, they don't know who a lot of these people are, they'll be like, "Oh, what's in it?" I was like, "Oh, well, C4's banned, all that sort of stuff." "Oh, is it? Yeah. Why is that?" "Well, because it's and then C4," and they're like, "Oh, okay, that kind of makes sense, right? It can be frustrating. It actually comes in a fun, frustrating thing, and people don't want that. People, even in public, there are things that frustrate you. It's one of the great things that you feel great when you're great, but sometimes you're like, "Oh, that's just," you get angry. The rage comes through. So that's where you have to be careful of as well. But yeah, so they're my sounding board. So for me, it's one of those ones where I know that any realistic person is not going to be put off by banning a gun or their favourite gun. They'll be like, "Oh, I can't use it because it's this," or whatever. You can logically tell them. But as it scales up, if you ban so much, they're like, "Why is 7 guns restricted? Why are you only using 1 gun? Why are we only, playing 1 map? What is this, what we're doing? Why is this different to everything I've experienced?" Hopefully Arena, by the way, should bridge a lot of these gaps, which is great. Arena's a massive part of actually being able to break this down. But that's one of the things that people look at. So it can be argued back and forth here. Like, for me, a lot of Call of Duty and Black Ops 3, if I think we're going to get the rule set I think we're going to get, that's not going to be an issue. Right? People are going to understand that some things aren't in there. UAV isn't in there. Understand, I've played casual games with these people at this LAN centre, and they've said, "Can we not use UAVs? Can we not use this?" Because people don't want to play with it because it makes it frustrating, or they want, even then, like if you're going team versus team, players don't really want that. They want to be able to just kind of use their teamwork and stuff to come down. So casual players will understand parts of this, and that's where this engagement viewership thing comes from. And I think people have been arguing both sides of that argument for a long time. Like I said, it's a lot of contention. That's where a lot of this argument comes from, is keeping the game as close to out of the box as it is against competitiveness and the fun and the frustrating stuff. Because no one wants to run through a field of trip mines before they can get anywhere, and then when they get through that field of trip mines, the guy's there and he gets a kill. Maybe you then trade that kill. And then the guy sets another trip mine, and then you have to kill him again, and it's just, oh my god, I want to kill somebody. So that's part of that. Now, there are some really good examples throughout Call of Duty history of bans that have been too harsh, maybe bans that haven't been bad enough, and why sometimes we actually do this. Okay, so first example, I'm going to go to COD 4. This is an extreme. This is where kind of I started. Call of Duty Deserter Rules V2. Deserter Rules V1 are different. There's a crucial difference, and it's actually the first perk slot. It's Bandolier, and in V2, it's Bomb Squad. Okay? Now, why is that important? Okay? Because in the original rules, it was Bandolier, Stopping Power, Dead Silence. Okay? In rules number 2, so V2 rules, it was Bomb Squad, Stopping Power, Dead Silence. Why? Why was that changed? Well, first of all, Bandolier allowed people to pre-fire too much. People just spraying everything. You got that many rounds, it doesn't matter. So Bomb Squad, what did Bomb Squad do? Nothing. Bomb Squad actually just burnt that perk slot. That's all it did. It made it a non-entity. I know what you think. What do you mean it made it a non-entity? Well, Claymores weren't allowed. They were already banned. So that was like, we're talking about really reducing it all down. Like there's you're only using 2 perks and all that. You remember right now we've got so much space and so much room, so that's what people are throwing back to. They're like, "Oh, we had this. This was okay back then. This was fine." And admittedly, it was a few guns you would use. It was okay. Second example, and this is one of the more important ones that I'm going to talk about, is actually Activision's own Call of Duty XP. Now, why is this relevant? Because it was an open tournament, it was a public tournament, and it wasn't really restricted. Players, I always laugh when I talk about this. There was a game. In fact, there was actually more than one game. I've been told, because I wasn't there. I can't attest to this, but it's research I've done. There was an American and French team that ended up playing. I believe it was Kill Confirmed 4 times. They replayed the map 4 times. I'm going to go 3, it's 4 times. And they did this because nobody would move. There was a game that went on where no kills were made. I think only 12 were made in 40 minutes. Why does this happen? Because players will do anything to win. When that money is on the line, you will do whatever it takes within that legal framework you've got to win. And that can make the game incredibly frustrating, as this game was. I believe 2 American teams did it as well. I think Claystor was actually on one of those teams, if I remember correctly. So this is the problem. This is the reason we don't play team deathmatch and kill confirmed and competitive, right? It's one of those things, like, even though it's one of the most played game modes, because there's no reason that players can't just hide in the corner for 10 minutes, and that may be a very viable strategy, because you just wouldn't play. You just stop playing, right? It's just that, oh my god, what are we doing? So that's another great example. The third example actually comes down to this variety thing. Now, this is another example. This is actually Black Ops 1 I'm going to talk about now. There were the Certo rules in Europe, and there were the MLG Pro Circuit rules. Now, they differed on a few points, including what you could and couldn't use, because domination was actually used in the American and it wasn't used in the European. But I think the most important one is, in fact, the fact that the European version banned 2 more guns than the American version. What did this do? You think there, right? And the first thing is go, well, surely that way the Europeans could use less guns to go through. And people who've known this and go through it already sit there and go, but that wasn't the case, was it, Brycey? No, it was not. So the 2 guns the Europeans banned was the FAMAS and the AUG. The Americans didn't want to do that. So what do? For the entire season, they used the FAMAS. 4 people on each team using it. Only thing that was really used. That was it. On the European side, I was actually still playing at that time, badly, but still playing. The M16 was pretty viable. The AK-47U was the AK-47, sorry, was the actual main gun. The AK-74U, I'll come back to this one because it's very important, was used for a bit, and the MP5. And I even saw Galil. I saw a few snipers. It was all kinds, a cornucopia of guns. Just quickly touching on this AKU thing. So the AKU was banned in European thing for a while, and then it got patched and it came back in. It came back viable because it was great before, and now it was, with grip, it was just, if I remember correctly, it was a laser, and then it was kind of adjusted. Bring it back, it was fantastic. So it was viable again. So right there, you have 1 gun being used for an entire year, and then you ban 2 guns, and suddenly 4 or 5 guns are viable. I don't know about you, but I've played this rule set, the European one, more than anything else. And a lot of Americans also said the European rule set was better. So that's why sometimes it's better to ban a few more things and open it up more, right? Okay, open up the whole, variety thing and the engagement. People saying, God, there's all these awesome guns being used. This is fantastic. So there's that as well. And also, you've got to remember, right? I think one of the most publicly used guns in Call of Duty 4 was probably the M4 Carbine. Pros didn't use the M16. It was hard to use as a burst gun. But, that's people, more guns, as I said, but no one really used it as a competitive level. So it's like one of those things, like, more guns we can bring in, the more chance of people engaging and recognizing that gun, going, oh, I want to use that, I want to use that. So that's another one. Fair enough. Let's jump onto another example. Another example is actually Black Ops 2. Black Ops 2 had differing rule sets across nations. I think it was actually Gfinity ended up first banning the Sentry and the shotguns, and that made the game more fun and more engaging, and people really enjoyed it. And they really enjoyed it because you couldn't get a camp for a Sentry gun and then throw down 300 trophy systems, and if essentially one team is shut out. They could kill all 4 people and then have to stop, work out how to try and get past this Sentry gun. Maybe fail, maybe slow them down enough. Like they just sit in the gun. I've just done the hard work. We've killed 4 of the enemy team. We've successfully dominated this map. We've got control. We could all be wiped out. And like I said, there are various examples of this. For instance, score streaks. No one wanted score streaks in Black Ops 2 to begin with. This engagement viewership come on, and this is one side of the conversation I was actually wrong on. It was for me. I didn't think they were going to be okay. They were in the end. Hardpoint with it was fantastic. S&D, I didn't really see the point of an S&D, if I'm honest. It was a good kind of thing having them in, but if you've got a bit of a streak, you could have a lightning strike and then the next round as well. It was kind of like that was a massive thing. The RCXD, I like the RCXD though. In S&D, I actually really like the RCXD. So maybe for me, it was just using one streak, but I digress. Capture the Flag was a similar story with the fact that some sides they were slightly asymmetrical, meaning that you might have a little bit of a better advantage. But I never really saw that play out too much, so that was fine. So, like I said, this has already gone on for quite a while. So those are some of the reasons and some of the examples. And I'm sure I had one more. I can't dread to think of it now. So these are some of the examples of why things are banned and how it restricts and how it doesn't restrict. Like I said, sometimes things are banned and you know, it restricts things, but actually makes things more varied. Some things aren't restricted, and it kind of does make it a bit frustrating to play. And this is one of the big arguments. So this has been going on for years, all the way since Call of Duty 4. This has been going on, and that's a long time. And that's why there's so many people blowing up about the arguments, because a lot of people differ in opinion, and there is no 100% right answer all of the time. There are some bits you can be completely correct on, but everybody's arguing various points, and that doesn't make their points any less valid, even if they're on the other side of the argument. Even if they lose, and something gets banned or doesn't get banned, it doesn't make them wrong. Their point can still be valid. It's just where we're going to draw the line. Now, guys, I thank you very much for watching. I kind of want to, you know, if you can think of any more good examples of this, because I'm sure I had one or two more before I started making this video, but that's how it is. I'd love to hear them. Part 2 of this video is going to discuss the various ways we can go about this next rule set. Okay, it's an interesting video because I actually have one specific way I want to talk about. It should be up the following day after this one, because I want to kind of do it quickly, and then I'm also going to do a big thing about everything in the game. So thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you didn't like the video, please give it a like. Please subscribe. Leave a comment. That's the most important things here. I really want to I really enjoy reading comments after videos and seeing how people said the Phase vs Optic video. I read that pretty much every single one. I like most of the comments. They were pretty much what I was expecting here. Let's have a fair and justified argument. Let's discuss this because it has to be discussed. Not talking about it is not good enough. We have to discuss this like reasonable adults. Because it's important. It will shape the rest of the year. But until then, I'll see you next time.